Right. Good afternoon, all, and thank you for joining me today to listen to a presentation on without question, the destination coral expeditions that are most known for, the stunning wilderness area of the Kimberley. If you've got any questions during this presentation, please feel free to put them into the chat function on your computer, and I'll try to address these at the end of the presentation. We're also recording the webinar today, and so we'll send the recorded version out to everyone attending, if you and you can rewatch it at your convenience. So 30 years ago, when Coral first made the first exploratory cruises in the Kimberley, we had to rely on hand-drawn maps and knowledge of fishermen and early explorers to navigate the vast and unpredictable coastline. Today, with 30 years of experience behind us and with in-house experts, maps, tidal charts and landing notes, we have a level of knowledge that is genuinely unrivaled, and no other cruise line, domestic or international, is able to provide the level of expertise, local knowledge and the depth and breadth of departures that we offer, with our entire fleet present during the full Kimberley season and offering more than 50 departures each year. If you choose to cruise the Kimberley wilderness, you'll witness up close and personal that the power of nature at the magnificent King George River and its towering twin falls. You'll explore ancient rock art with expert guides and witness diverse marine life and cascading waters at Montgomery Reef. Later in the season, right about now, you may also see the majestic humpback whales on their migration north to their breeding grounds. And you'll experience the thrill of riding the horizontal falls in inflatable Zodiacs, something which must be said, some competitors do not even offer, but with Coral Expeditions is a true highlight of each Kimberley voyage. So Coral have been in business now for 40 years, 30 of those, as mentioned, cruising within the Kimberley. And for those 40 years, we have operated with a singular purpose to take small groups of like-minded explorers to remote places with expert guidance and warm Australian hospitality. For any of you joining us today who have travelled with Coral Expeditions previously, you'll be more than aware of the style of travel we offer and the onboard experience that we're known for consistently providing. However, for those new to Coral Expeditions and the brand and the expedition itineraries we offer, it's worth stating right from the outset that if you're looking for a vessel with multiple bars, restaurants, nightclubs and casinos, then a Coral Expeditions cruise is probably not what you're looking for. Instead, we offer an informal, relaxed onboard experience with no dressing for dinner, no assigned seating and no formal onboard entertainment outside our schedule of lectures and presentations from our guest lecturer and expedition leader team, specific obviously to the waters in which you cruise. The whole ethos of the company is to focus on the stunning destinations we visit rather than the ship itself. And that's a very different prospect from some of the big ship cruise lines out there. We offer a minimum of 2 shore excursions daily and utilise our trademark and unique explorer tenders, which I'll come on to shortly, to ensure your time is maximised ashore with no waiting or queuing. Our shore excursions are also tailored to all, no matter the levels of fitness. And so we offer our guests anything from a relatively strenuous walk to a site of interest or viewpoint, through to a gentler beachcomb or exploration of the area. In suitable locations, we also offer the choice of staying aboard our Explorer tenders to cruise through the bays, creeks, rivers and coastlines for those not inclined to head ashore. The point being that we offer a range of excursion opportunities to fit all fitness requirements and specific areas of interest. And again, all shore excursions are accompanied by our expert expedition team. We do not outsource to third parties, meaning we can guarantee the quality of both the onboard and the ashore expedition experience. To get things started, we now have a short video that provides a really beautiful overview of the Kimberley and some of the stunning areas and highlights that we visit. Enjoy, and I'll speak to you shortly. Right, just a nice little intro for you there. So look, we invite you to see the Kimberley with the original pioneers. As mentioned, Coral Expeditions pioneered the Kimberley 30 years ago now, and no one has the expertise and local knowledge that we've accrued over the years. This is absolutely crucial in the Kimberley, with tidal ranges exceeding more than 12 meters, and with treacherous reefs, shoals, and shallow waters. Our crew will get you safely into the right spots and crucially at the right time. And we do this with a warm Australian hospitality. Our ships are owned, flagged, and crewed by Australians. Admittedly, we do let a few Kiwis on board as well. And we provide a genuine, relaxed, and informal, true Australian onboard experience. It's also important to mention that with our ships being Australian flagged, we do not need to venture into international waters, thereby allowing you more time spent in the wonderful Kimberley and not just transiting the open ocean. And again, as mentioned, we have a relaxed and informal onboard atmosphere, whilst remaining a truly premium product. And we encourage an open interaction between our guests and crew. We encourage guests to utilise our open bridge to chat direct with the captain. And we offer a range of both in and outdoor areas to simply sit back, relax, and enjoy the stunning vistas on offer. Usually, I must say, with a cheeky G&T or glass of wine in hand. And so moving on to our ships, all vessels across the Coral Fleet have been purpose-built to cruise in the tropical waters of the Kimberley. Their small size and shallow draft allow us to access areas that other ships simply cannot reach. All our vessels come with wraparound decks, private balconies on some of our staterooms, and outdoor bar and dining options, so you can enjoy those famous Kimberley sunsets. I'm not going to go into too much detail of our ships today, as I simply don't have too much time. I try and keep these webinars to around the 45-minute mark. However, our website is genuinely amazing, and it contains a massive of ship and additional information that you feel free to peruse at your leisure. But Coral Discoverer, seen here on the screen, this is our smallest kind of yacht-like vessel. Which, if you've cruised with Coral Expeditions before, you might have been aboard her. She's loved by our regulars for her small size. So she has a maximum capacity of 72 people on board. So really small numbers, which is crucial for that true kind of expedition in these really remote wilderness areas. Coral Adventurer on the screen here is one of our more modern ships, so launched in late 2019. You can see a little bit larger, so we have a maximum of 120 guests on board across 60 cabins. And again, all of our cabins are en suite, all are outward facing, and as you can see from the screen there, many with their private balconies. And then finally, the final vessel in the Coral Fleet, Coral Geographer, launched in late 2021. So it's a very recent addition to the fleet. You can see it's practically a mirror image of Coral Adventurer. So again, maximum capacity, 120 across 60 cabins, all outward facing, all en suite, many with private balconies, and loads of both in and outdoor deck space just to relax and watch the world go by. I'm not going to go into too much more detail here. Again, please jump onto the website if you'd like to reach out to your travel agent or reach out to one of the team, and we'll more than happily discuss the fleet in more detail. So moving on to one of the most important facets of a Coral Expedition cruise, and this is the Explorer tenders, which I've mentioned repeatedly so far throughout the presentation, and you saw in action just in that little video clip just gone. Our Explorers have been purpose designed and built by Coral Expeditions to provide the perfect conduit between our ships and the remote regions we visit, be that here in the Kimberley and on all our domestic and international itineraries. And it is something that no other cruise line, domestic or international, can offer. Our Explorers are really easy to board directly from one of the main decks, with no steps or ladders to contend with before being lowered gently into the water. And they provide comfortable padded seating, a full audio system to assist our guides in sharing their expert commentary. It has a canopy overhead which protects you from the sun and occasional rain. This is particularly crucial when we sail in tropical waters. And there's a toilet on board for that remote convenience. This might not sound like a big deal, but it is crucial to avoid having to constantly head back to the mothership, and potentially avoids the need to find a suitable bush or have a quick dip in the ocean, particularly inadvisable in Kimberley waters due to the ever-present threat of saltwater crocodiles. In short, our explorers are crucial in allowing us to deliver a true expedition product. They allow easy access not only to beach and harbour landings, but provide the perfect option for exploring the bays, rivers and coastlines, as well as doubling up as an excellent scuba and snorkel platform where applicable. They allow us to on and off board the entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes, which again means more time spent enjoying the areas you've paid a considerable amount of money to experience. Aboard Coral Adventurer and Coral Geographer, our two bigger ships, we've got 2 Explorer tenders, whilst Coral Discoverer, our smaller vessel, just has the 1 Explorer. And as mentioned, they can be boarded directly off the ship's deck before the hydraulic platform gently lowers into the water, making it easily accessible for all of our guests. The Explorers are equipped with 2 powerful engines, can reach speeds of up to 25 knots, and it allows us to cover large distances in far more comfort than the Zodiacs or Tinnies utilised by other cruise lines. That being said, it's also important to mention that on all our expedition cruise itineraries and across all vessels in the fleet, we complement our Explorer tenders with the more traditional Zodiac inflatables. And our guests have the option, where applicable, to enjoy these Zodiacs to further explore the diverse regions in which we travel. However, as anyone knows who's ever jumped aboard a Zodiac, they come with far less creature comforts than our Explorer tenders, and with no protection from the elements, and with some of our shore excursions taking multiple hours. Utilising our Explorer tenders in conjunction with the Zodiac option means we can exclusively offer this combination to allow our guests the flexibility and choice, no matter how adventurous or not, as the case may be, that they are. And so again, if you're looking for nightclubs, casinos and formal onboard entertainment, then the Coral product is not what you're looking for. We do, however, offer a full schedule of lectures and presentations from true experts in their fields, with the aim being that you get to better understand the flora, fauna, geology, art and cultures of this amazing part of Australia. And then, armed with this knowledge, you'll be accompanied by our expert expedition team who lead the way in discovering the Kimberley and all it has to offer. We now have another short video narrated by Jamie Anderson, one of our longest serving and passionate expedition leaders. And he will give you a brief overview as what you can expect on excursion in the Kimberley. Enjoy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jamie, your expedition leader, giving you the final call. You'll need hat, sunscreen, water, as it will be warm. Optional footwear, folks. Thank you. I'm James Anderson, mostly called Jamie, and I've been in this role for around 17 years with the company. Back in 2002, I was teaching, and I was asked by a friend of mine if I was interested in doing a job. I was fed up with teaching, and so I said, I'll give it a go. He put me on the Kimberley run for the first time. People travelling the Kimberley will see a massive diversification of not only animals and plants, but also the rock systems. Geology is huge in the Kimberley due to its age. It is the most remote wilderness area left in Australia, really, and luckily it's still like that. It's not overrun yet. More and more vessels are coming in, but at the same time, when it comes down to it, there's still plenty of places you can go without seeing anybody. The remoteness makes it one of the most magnificent trips around. You can't get bored anywhere that we go. Everything's new. The weather changes, the light changes. You've also got the marine side of things. These are with the whales and dolphin. Also going up into river systems that nobody else goes into. It is the most unique reef in the world. It comes out of water, exposes itself twice a day, and it depends on the tidal level as to how much of the reef is exposed. So what we've seen on our cruise this particular trip has been just extraordinary. The Indigenous populations, there are three different groups that we go through. We go through the Wunnabal Gambera people, we go through the Warra country, and we go through the Bardi country. They departed basically in 1942, and so we're lucky to go through those particular different areas, and it's nice if we can see them along the way.
We have 3 cruise itineraries which make up our Kimberley season, basically. By far and away, the largest one is our classic, the Kimberley cruise, our classic Kimberley offering. It's 10 nights between Darwin and Broome and vice versa, departing more than 50 times each year between the months of April and September. It's, as mentioned, we've got by far and away the largest numbers of guaranteed departures and the widest date range. No one can compete with the numbers of departures. And like I say, the full Kimberley season from early April until very late September. We've got the full fleet there, all 3 of our ships, Coral Discoverer, Adventurer and Geographer, present during the Kimberley season. And yeah, it's our classic Kimberley product, the Kimberley cruise, 10 nights, Darwin and Broome, and vice versa. We also offer what we're calling the best of the Kimberley and the Tiwi Islands. So it's still 10 nights between Darwin and Broome and vice versa. Departs in August and September each year. We do use Coral Discoverer, our smallest vessel, so maximum capacity 72 on this particular trip. You still get to see, you can see from the map there, all the major highlights of the Kimberley. But we've included a couple of additional nights or extra nights in the Tiwi Islands close to Darwin. The Tiwi Islands are a massive Indigenous art centre, basically, and we spend a lot of time exploring the islands and the communities there, a lot of them with exclusive access to Coral Expeditions. And if you've got a particular interest with Indigenous art or want to purchase some art to take back home with you, then this will be the trip for you. You get all of the highlights of the Kimberley, like I say, just with an additional bit of time spent in the pretty remote Tiwi Islands off Darwin. 10 nights between Darwin and Broome, departing August and September each year aboard Coral Discoverer. And then finally, our Kimberley icons, Ashmore Reef and the Rowley Shoals. So this is a 12-night trip departing again from Darwin and Broome. It departs in September only each year, and we utilise our 2 bigger vessels, which are more suitable to the full open ocean, so Coral Geographer and Coral Adventurer. The Kimberley icons, again, as you can see from the map, still visits all the major highlights of the Kimberley. But we tacked on a couple of extra days and nights to allow us the time, so we don't have to sacrifice any of the Kimberley highlights, but allows us times to cruise out close to international waters to experience, the stunning Ashmore Reef and Rowley Shoals. If any of you out there listening today are keen scuba divers, it's an absolutely beautiful spot to do some scuba diving. Obviously, the Kimberley itself is not particularly a scuba or snorkel or even swimming kind of focused itinerary for obvious reasons, like the old saltwater crooks there. But the Kimberley, Ashmore and the Rowley Shoals are far enough out into deep international waters that we don't have to worry too much about that. So if you are that scuba diver, it's by all accounts a spectacular dive. So Kimberley icons, Ashmore and the Rowley Shoals, 12 nights departing Darwin and Broome each year in September aboard either Coral Geographer or Coral Adventurer. So now we're just going to move on to some of the main highlights that you're going to get to see on all of the aforementioned trips, basically. It's going to be a relatively brief overview, but again, I'll refer you off to the website, your travel agent, or even, pick up the phone to one of our res team, and we're more than happily provide as much additional information as you require. But moving straight on to one of the major highlights, King George Falls. Is WA's highest twin waterfall. And a visit to these falls is one of the true highlights of a Kimberley expedition cruise with Coral Expeditions. Before we reach the falls, you get to enjoy a scenic cruise in our Explorers up the King George River, where you'll be genuinely mesmerized by the orange sandstone cliffs which frame the river. I was very lucky to jump on a cruise recently, and we were lucky enough to cruise up the river at sunrise, which made the colours of the water and the orange cliffs a really incredible experience to witness. Once we reached the falls, we had the option to jump into one of the Zodiacs to get up closer to these 80-metre high waterfalls. And for those feeling brave, you can get a really close experience and go and have a look under the falls, which is an incredible experience and so much fun. And we had a lot of laughs. And there'll be a few opportunities along the trip to have what we call a Kimberley shower. So don't forget to pack your swimmers. And usually with the tropical hot weather, it's a beautiful experience to go under the falls and get wet and have a cool off. The Kimberley, as mentioned, is a great place to view multiple rock art galleries, including Jar Island, seen here, where we got to view the Guian rock art. There were walking options that ranged from easy, medium, and hard, so everyone was able to experience this incredible artwork and learn the associated stories. And it was genuinely mind-blowing to learn the stories behind these art creations, and to be able to see it in real life was a real privilege. In the afternoon, after visiting the rock art, we headed out on the Explorer to the Anjou Peninsula, where we got to explore the C-53 plane wreck, whilst Quentin, who was our GL on my particular trip, educated us on the remarkable survival story of the US Air Force crew who survived this highly remote crash landing during World War II. Whilst we were there, we got to stretch our legs and explore the surrounding salt flats and searching for bees, birds, crabs, wildflowers and baobab trees. And to finish another amazing day, on our way back to the ship, we were surrounded by dolphins. So the short trip back in the Explorer turned into a dolphin cruise, which was a lovely surprise and a really nice conclusion to what was a pretty epic day. Mitchell Falls. Mitchell Falls is accessed by an optional scenic helicopter flight from a really remote beach in Prince Frederick Harbour. Which is close to the ship where you'll be tended in our Zodiacs or Explorers to the heli location. The flight is approximately 20 minutes each way, doors off for added adventure, and you get about an hour at the top of the falls to do the short walk to the lookout and go for a refreshing dip. The helicopter option can be booked on board with our expedition team, so there's no need to worry about pre-booking. And the cost is approximately $695 per person. It's a genuinely incredible experience, and I would highly recommend doing this, as it's spectacular being able to see the vast Kimberley from the air. This was a really big highlight for many of the guests on my trip. I would recommend packing a lanyard or a strap so you can connect your phone or camera, bearing in mind that the doors are off and it's a long way down for your cameras or iPhones. But look, a really good experience. It's totally optional activity. You can book it on board, but I highly recommend anybody takes up the option here. It's a really beautiful experience. But for those that opt not to do the heli flight, you'll get to enjoy a cruise up Parossus Creek to spot the local wildlife. So Parossus Creek is located in Prince Frederick Harbour, which is one of the Kimberley's most spectacular locations. The harbour is dotted with islands, lined with mangroves and monsoon rainforests. So make sure you pack your binoculars, as the mangroves are a perfect hiding spot for crocodiles and bird life and a wide range and diverse range of marine life. White-bellied sea eagles and other birds of prey are often seen here, and at low tide, expansive mudflats reveal large populations of mud skippers and mangrove crabs. We aim for 2 shore excursions daily, so the guests that did decide to join the heli flight will get a chance to cruise up Parossus Creek. You're not going to miss out. But for those that didn't, we have another cruise in the afternoon, and it's another opportunity for the guests to go up the creek, but from the bay basically, but on the opposite side. So again, searching for any wildlife that you might see. King's Cascade. is reached by via Prince Regent River, where you'll enjoy a leisurely cruise in the Explorers, and again is another great opportunity to spot bird life and hopefully some crocodiles. We were lucky enough to have a croc greet us as we entered the Cascades, which was yeah, good to see. So keep your fingers on board, so to speak. King's Cascade, seen here on the screen, is a beautiful terraced waterfall that is one of the most photographed in the Kimberley. Falling from a considerable height of around 50 meters, the water tumbles down a staggered terrace of Kimberley sandstone, which has layer upon layer of mosses and ferns, which looks like a hanging garden. The explorers will nose into the cascade and give everyone the chance to have yet another Kimberley shower. So moving on, look, a really significant site in the early history of Australia. Philip Parker King named nearby Careening Bay after he beached his leaking vessel, HMS Mermaid, to do repairs. And then while stranded on this remote coastline for around 17 days, the ship's carpenter carved the ship's name and the date 1820 into the bottle-shaped trunk of a baobab tree near the beach. 200 years later, the Mermaid tree has since split into two trunks and is about 12 meters wide now. There's a really nice beach walk near the backwaters, which is a great opportunity to, again, stretch the legs and view some of the local wildlife and bird life, which is particularly great in this area, before we return back to the ship. So Monty Reef, to give it its formal name, Montgomery Reef, genuinely one of the major highlights of any of our coral expedition cruises in the Kimberley. It appears twice a day as the sea recedes in massive 11 or 12 meter tides. On my trip, we set our alarm early and headed off at dawn to witness the reef emerging at sunrise. So as the tide falls, Monty Reef literally seems to rise from the ocean in a massive cascade of rushing water, revealing a flat-topped reef. We get to cruise along the inlets in the Explorers whilst guests take the opportunity to transfer to our Zodiacs if they choose to get a closer look at the water gushing off the reef and the bird life, taking advantage of the emerging reef and feeding on the marine life left exposed in the rock pools. Part of our Kimberley cruise is also spent enjoying drinks on a really remote beach location. So depending on the tides during your voyage, you may get to enjoy sunset drinks on a nearby sand cay overlooking Monty Reef like we did. On my trip, the guests were having so much fun on the sand cay, dancing to ABBA, not my choice, but I'm very much just an employee with Coral. So dancing to ABBA, and they didn't want to leave, and it was genuinely a great way to finish yet another amazing day. But Monty Reef will be an absolutely true highlight of the trip. It's absolutely spectacular, and again highlights how crucial it is to have that kind of local knowledge in the Kimberley. You turn up at Monty Reef at the wrong time, it just doesn't even exist, it's underwater, but you want to turn up at the right time, tide dependent, to see the waters just cascading off the reef. It's a truly epic sight. And again, with our expertise and local knowledge, we've been visiting here for 30 years now. We're going to get you here at the right time to witness what is a truly spectacular highlight of any of our Kimberley cruises. So moving on, horizontal falls. For many of you listening in today, you're going to be more than aware of horizontal falls. It's probably the one thing in the Kimberley that most people have heard of. And from my personal opinion, it's honestly one of the best things I've ever done. But even just to witness the faces of our guests coming back from their adventures through the falls was just so uplifting, and the whole ship was just buzzing on adrenaline after this particular visit. For me personally, we had our skipper Adam, who led us through the falls on one of the Zodiacs, and Adam made us all feel like we were in safe hands, which is crucial because it's incredibly turbulent water, and you don't want to fall out, not just because of the water, but for the old salties that hang around in this particular area. And Adam explained everything really thoroughly, and most of all gave us a really epic experience. Even our eldest guests on board, who are in their mid-80s, got to experience this, once in a lifetime opportunity, and were asking to go back, again and again. We even had a few fist bumps from them on the way back, which was good to see. We have a Zodiac. It's important to mention, actually. We've got a Zodiac with one of our expedition team, just as you're about to head into the falls to capture your photos. So you don't need to worry about holding onto a camera as you go through, and you can just sit back and enjoy the experience without having to worry about taking photos or getting your expensive kind of camera equipment wet, which it would do if you took it on board. So yeah, we'll have someone set up there to capture the photos and then, give those for you to take home as required. The mothership is anchored in Talbot Bay, not far from the fall. Interestingly, it's always good to make sure you have a look over the side of the ship, particularly at dusk and at night time, to say hello to, I call them the friendly local tawny sharks and the occasional saltwater croc that like to hang around the ship at night. So moving on, Nares Point. I put this slide into the presentation because it's a fantastic example of the incredible rock formations that you'll get to witness throughout the Kimberley voyage. To get to Nares Point, you'll enjoy a cruise through some of the big whirlpools and tidal ranges and learn about the stories of the sailors and their challenges over the years navigating the extreme tides of the Kimberley. There's a beautiful beach nearby to Nares Point where you can beachcomb and search for microbats in caves, find quoll footprints and native flowers. And depending on what time we get there, it's also a beautiful location where we have sunset drinks, a glass of champagne on a beautiful beach, watching the sun go down, and again is a truly beautiful end to what is another spectacular day in the Kimberley. So whether or not you're departing from Broome or Darwin, departing Broome, this is pretty much the first kind of highlight of the Kimberley, whereas departing Darwin, it's towards the end of the trip, or the last major highlights of the trip, is the Lassipede Islands. These low islands are a protected nature reserve and a really important birding area, so supporting up to 18,000 breeding pairs of brown boobies, as well as significant breeding area for the green sea turtles. Again, we get to explore the island lagoon by Zodiac and Explorer to spot many species of birds and the diverse marine life that is on offer there. I don't think I've ever seen so many turtles in the same place at the same time. And we've also received reports that a crocodile has been hanging around recently and got caught on camera feasting on a dead turtle. So have your cameras ready, as always with the Kimberley, and keep your hands inboard, so to speak, because yeah, there's plenty of big saltwater crocs around in the Kimberley. So moving on, just in general, the Kimberley is not short on wildlife, and they're going to be an opportunity to spot white-bellied sea eagles and other birds of prey during low tide at Porossis Creek, which I mentioned earlier, is home to an abundance of wildlife. Crocodiles, as I've mentioned, frequent these waters, and you'll often find mud skippers and mangrove crabs on the mud flats on the low tides. We're now entering into whale season over there. And again, this is the best time to sight humpback whales, which migrate to the Kimberley waters. And we've been getting great reports of whale sightings, and I can personally verify that. We had some lovely whales breaching out of the water on some of the locations when I was there a few short weeks or so ago. Other seasons in the Kimberley are the waterfall season, so traditionally towards the beginning of the season, April, May, just at the tail end of the rainy season. For obvious reasons, the water pours down onto the flat mainland plateau of the Kimberley and then just absolutely cascades over the waterfalls. If you're looking to go to the Kimberley specifically or primarily to see the waterfalls, then pick one of our departures that's at the beginning of the season. The waterfalls are in absolutely peak flow and absolutely spectacular. That being said, I was only there, 2 or 3 weeks or so ago. Traditionally, the waterfalls would have at least started to dry up, or sometimes during drier rainy seasons have completely dried up. But the waterfalls are still flowing, not like they were in April, May at the beginning of the season, but there's still plenty of water that's flowing off the plateau. June, July tends to be our kind of peak season. You get the best of both worlds. The weather is beautiful. There's very, very little chance of any rain whatsoever. The humidity has died down a little bit. And the waterfalls are still flowing, so you kind of get a bit of both worlds. Whereas August and September is what we call whale season. So the wildlife is probably at its peak during the latter stages, like I say, August and September. Spectacular seeing whales breaching and moving on to their breeding areas. The downside, I suppose, is and it varies season to season, that the waterfalls aren't quite so spectacular with the amount of water coming off them, and the temperatures start to heat up, so you can get some pretty hot days there. So you're going to do an identical itinerary whether or not you pick bang at the beginning of the season or a last departure in late September. So it's really kind of personal choice. The only other thing I'll mention in terms of season and best time of year to visit is June and July. We call the peak season. There are other operators that go into the Kimberley, none, as I mentioned, that have the kind of expertise and history and experience that we do in the Kimberley. And again, it comes down to a personal choice. But if I was paying money to go into the Kimberley, it's this remote wilderness, stunning area. I want to experience it with as little other people as possible, personal taste. So if you're one of these people that wants to go to the Kimberley and not see any other ships cruising the waters, choose a departure in April or May, where pretty much, which is the beginning of the season, the waterfall season, and pretty much Coral Expeditions are the only cruise line that are operating in the Kimberley during that time. But again, it's absolutely personal taste. So moving on, I've just got one more video for you here. We're coming to the end of our presentation, so it's a good opportunity to ask any questions you may have in the chat section, and I'll move on to them shortly. So to give you a chance to ask your questions, I'll play the video. Enjoy, and we'll chat in a second. Enjoy. Right, I've had a few questions that have been submitted throughout the presentation, and they keep pinging in. So we'll just move straight into the first of them. So look, can you swim? Are there any swimming opportunities, any snorkeling opportunities, any scuba dive opportunities? So touching on swimming, for the aforementioned, mainly the reason it's not a big swimming destination is for the obvious native wildlife, the old saltwater crocodiles. So if it's if you're after an itinerary where you're going to be getting into the water every single day to go for a swim, then maybe the Kimberley is not going to be for you. There are some swimming opportunities, however. They tend to be above the falls after we've gone for a little hike up to a viewpoint, I being crop friendly and not crop friendly, crop safe. Sorry. So there are swimming opportunities, but they're relatively infrequent on our Kimberley expeditions. Likewise with snorkeling, we've got a really diverse range of expedition cruise itineraries, both domestic and international. Many of them, like through the islands of Indonesia and Micronesia and Raja Ampat and the Philippines, you're in the water every day. There's phenomenal snorkeling opportunities. The Kimberley is not one of those destinations. So there are a few swimming opportunities, but there are no snorkel opportunities. Scuba diving, the only place where we can scuba dive on any of these free cruise itineraries is the extended 12-night one, where we cruise out deep into kind of international waters to go and see the Rowley Shoals. And again, it's a phenomenal, from what I've heard, I haven't done it myself personally, it's a phenomenal scuba opportunity there. But in short, the Kimberley is not built around getting into the water on a regular basis, but there are opportunities from the old Kimberley showers underneath the waterfalls to some really quite nice relaxing swims above the falls in those croc-free pools. Is the Wi-Fi on board? So if you'd asked me 6 months or so ago, I would say yes, but it wasn't very good, particularly in some of these really remote regions. Coral Expeditions have spent a small fortune in the last kind of 6 months to a year or so installing Elon Musk's Starfleet internet across the fleet. I'm sure Elon doesn't need the money, but it means that we've now got superb Wi-Fi on board. When I was chatting to the crew and using it myself, it's actually better than the Wi-Fi speeds that we get at our Cairns head office. As part of your prepaid, cruise itinerary, we provide you with our standard Wi-Fi package. This is going to be absolutely fine if you're just wanting to, keep in touch with friends and family, post a few images of the trip, that type of thing, a bit of cruising of social media. If you're one of those unlucky people that has important work calls, or God forbid you have the time to download Netflix series and that type of thing, then our standard Wi-Fi probably isn't suitable, and we can upgrade you at an additional cost to our premium service, which would be genuinely great. You can download, stream, to your heart's content, but comes included in the price our standard Wi-Fi. It's now superb Wi-Fi technology, and is going to be more than capable of handling those basic social media, keeping in touch with friends and family. Do you do laundry on board? Absolutely, we do. It does come at a small additional fee. But yes, we can handle your dirty laundry. That's not a problem whatsoever. Do you have any luggage restrictions? So the short answer is no. You can bring whatever you want. When I was waiting to or just checking in on my recent trip, I saw one gentleman turn up with pretty much an overnight bag, and I saw one couple turn up with, I think, about 6 or 7 pretty large suitcases. So it's completely up to you. Just bear in mind, as I touched on at the beginning of the presentation, it's really informal, laid back on board experience. You don't need to pack your tuxedos or ball gowns. Do and dress up if you want to, but there's absolutely no expectation. So just bring what you need to enjoy your trip. So in short, yeah, absolutely not. There's no luggage restrictions. So best time of year. This question popped into my chat towards the beginning of the presentation. So I did just cover it briefly. In short, for me, there's no real best time of year. You're going to see the epic Kimberley in all its glory, whether or not you go bang at the beginning of the season or our last departure, I think on the 28th of September each year. It really comes down to personal preference, which I touched on. If waterfalls are your thing and you want to see them in full flow, the earlier you can join a cruise in the Kimberley, the better, basically. Okay. If wildlife and marine life, the whales are really what you want to kind of highlight when you go into the Kimberley, then later into the season, from the beginning of August until our last departure at the end of September. If you want a bit of the best of both worlds, it's peak season, or what we call peak season. Our pricing doesn't change, but we call it peak season because that's when, if we're going to get competition in the Kimberley from varying both international and domestic cruise lines, they have really short seasons, 2 or 3 months, whereas ours is 5 or 6 months. That's when you're going to get in June, July. That's when you're going to get, I suppose, to see the Kimberley at its most busiest. But the payoff to that is you get the best of both worlds. The weather is amazing. It's not too humid. It's not too hot. The waterfalls are still flowing, and you get that beautiful wildlife experience. And again, towards the end of the season, whilst the waterfalls have either dried up or at least restricted their flow, the marine life there, from the whales downwards, it's absolutely spectacular. So it's absolutely personal choice. The itinerary doesn't change from the first departure to the last, basically. Okay. How fit do I need to be to get the most out of our trips? So I touched on it briefly. all of our excursions, and we, like I say, we aim for 2 each day. We will give people options basically. So it doesn't matter if you want to kind of push yourself and go on a bit more of a kind of strenuous walk or short hike up to a viewpoint, or you just want to relax on board or relax in one of our explorers, or just have a bit of a gentle beach comb and chill out in the area. We provide different options, no matter what your kind of physical abilities are. Okay, so you're never going to be left out of a particular shore excursions because you've got a dodgy knee or dodgy hip, or like me, you're just physically unfit. Another question just come in. Bear with me. When do bookings open for 2025 on the 10-night cruises? So I was just chatting with my boss a couple of hours or so ago. We're looking to launch or release our 2025 season in literally the next 1 or 2 weeks, basically. Okay, so if 2025 is the year that you've got penciled in to do the Kimberley, just keep a watch out on the Coral website, or reach out to your travel agent or our reservation team on the email and contact number here, and we can make you aware as and when we release that. But don't quote me on it, but it should be literally in the next 7 to 10 days. We'll be releasing the full 2025 season. What is better, departing from Broome or Darwin? The short answer is there's absolutely no difference with the itinerary, other than the fact that you're just doing it in reverse, basically. We get quite a lot of clients ringing us up going, look, we must be on the port side of the ship, or the starboard side of the ship, depending if you're leaving Darwin or Broome. It really doesn't matter, because what blew me particularly away with the Kimberley when I experienced it is there were literally hundreds of small little islands dotted around the Kimberley, and you're not just going from Broome to Darwin, i.e. you'd want to be on the port side of the ship to enjoy the vistas as they cruise by. The ship is permanently changing direction, going around islands, going into bays, so it really doesn't matter. The itineraries are absolutely identical, just done in reverse, basically. You don't have to worry about being on a particular side of the ship, because the ship just moves into the various bays, islands, and river systems. So yeah, absolutely no dramas there whatsoever. Last question, I think. Can you use drones? So I get asked this a lot in the various presentations I do. But look, the short answer is no. No matter if we're cruising in the Kimberley, in domestic waters, or internationally, we're visiting a lot of protected marine and land areas, World Heritage sites, which just outright ban drone technology. That being said, if drone photography is something that's absolutely crucial to you and your trip, you can approach us on a case-by-case basis. But it basically comes down to the onboard captain at any particular time. So there will be some areas which will be an outright flat no, and there will be some areas that there might be a little bit of flexibility. Okay, I think from what I can see, that was the last question coming through. I've gone over my 45-minute time schedule, guys, so I do apologize to that. In summary, it's a relatively brief overview of the Kimberley and the kind of expedition cruise options we have there. If you're thinking about heading off either shortly this year, we still have some limited availability in some of our cabins over the next 6 weeks before the season finishes. But any of our 24 or soon to be released 25 season, I'm biased, I work for Coral Expeditions, but we are truly the leader when it comes to the Kimberley. We pioneered it 30 years ago, as I mentioned, and no one has the levels of that local expertise that you genuinely need in the Kimberley to deliver that true expedition product. Please feel free to jump onto the website. As I mentioned, it will give you full detailed itineraries. If you want some further information on the ships, we give you cabin layouts and deck plans. We give you a big range of videos, additional webinars if you want to have a look at other destinations. But please peruse to your heart's content. There's a wide range of information there. Or reach out to your travel agent if you use one. We've been working with our trade partners for since we started 40 years or so ago. So please feel free to reach out to them, and they can contact us on your behalf. or reach out to our genuinely excellent reservation and sales team up in our Cairns head office. And the Explorer email and the 1-800 number on the screen is the one to choose. Just had one more question pop through. So footwear, question mark. You might have heard from the Jamie Anderson video. We give people a briefing each morning as to what we're going to do for that particular day. So obviously, if there's a bit of a walk or a hike involved, you'll be advised accordingly. We have what are called wet and dry landings, utilising our Explorer tenders. So you probably didn't see too much in some of the images, but they've got a drop-down ramp off the front and a side hatch as well, and they're purpose-built for these remote, beach landings that, there's no formal harbours in the Kimberley. So on a wet landing, we're not going to get you to jump into, waist deep water for obvious crocodile reasons, but it will drop down onto the front, and you'll be stepping into crystal clear ankle deep water. So it might be advisable either bare feet or to bring some shoes that you can get wet, be they flip flops or I should call them thongs in Australia, and then be able to have a pair of shoes that you can keep dry and utilize for some of the walks up to the art sites or some of the waterfalls, that type of thing. So yeah, it's in short, informal, laid back from a dressing perspective. It can get really hot in the Kimberley. I probably don't need to tell you that. So hats and sun protection, but I would be taking a pair of wet landing shoes that can be got wet. A lot of people on my particular departure were using Crocs. I just use the traditional thongs, but then a pair of shoes as well that you can keep dry to use whilst you're going on some of the walks and explorations of the area. If that is the last question, which I think it is, I'll probably just wrap it up now, guys. Thank you very much for listening to me today. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we get to see you on board, if not this season, sometime in 24 or 25 and beyond. No one does the Kimberley better than us. No one has the depth and breadth of departures that we can offer, with more than 50 departures each year. All three of our ships are present in the Kimberley during that full 5 or 6 month season, and whilst I'm probably biased, no one does the Kimberley better. So please feel free to reach out to your travel agent, reach out to our res team up in Cairns on the Explorer and the 1-800 number. Thank you very much for listening today, and enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we see you on board soon. Good day. Cheers, guys.